Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Jund version of the Brewing Labs. Now, as stated before, this is the final deck in the Tibalt Saga shenanigans, mostly brewing around Tibalt's Trickery. But I decided to do a little bit of a trickery of my own and make a deck where he has to be with Soren. So, this is pretty much my take on Jund Vampires with a little bit of reanimation shenanigans. Nevertheless, in a 1-drop slot, we have Valentine, Dean of the Vein, another good vampire that can also be Lisette, Dean of the Root. This is very nifty because if we counter with Tibalt's Trickery and get Valentine, if we want Valentine, we can, but we can also change it to Lisette if we want to. That's very nice for the deck. But just both sides are very good. Valentine is very good, just having the Menace Lifelink vampire that's also Graveyard Hate. That's very good for this deck. But also, Lisette, Dean of the Root, we do have some minimal life gain strategies within this deck design, so being able to make our creatures get +1/+1 counters and have trample, very great. We're also running Spikefield Hazard as our MDFC land in the deck. Just good early game removal, especially with a lot of mono white going around. So it's nice to have this, and it's also a spell that we get pitched to Tibalt's Trickery, as we've seen in the previous Brewing Labs video, so it's very nice. We're also running Voldaren Epic here. Just a very great 1-drop, just being able to deal damage to the opponent, but mostly we're doing it for the blood token generation. Very nice. As well, if it's later down the game, we could also pitch it yet again to Tibalt's Trickery. So it's good that we have an assortment of these cheap spells. Now, in the 2-drop slot, we do have 2 of Tibalt's Trickery, just because good card. Essentially to be able to sometimes counter an opponent's spell if we need to, if we think it will be more beneficial to us, like a board wipe or something. But mostly, we're going to use it to counter our cheap stuff, or maybe counter a counterspell in a roundabout way by countering our own spell to negate the counterspell, and still get value from it. We're also running a few Deadly Dispute, just good card draw. We also have enough blood token generation within the deck design that essentially we can just sacrifice a blood token to get this effect, which is very, very nice. We're also running Tibalt, aka Valky God of Lies, as well as Tibalt Cosmic Imposter as a 2-of. Just good to play Valky early game to help do some hand disruption, but also later game we could play Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, or kind of like the same thing with Valentine here, we can, with Tibalt's Trickery, maybe counter an early game spell and be able to cast Tibalt a lot earlier than we would. I think we showed that off with last Brewing Labs video, if my memory serves me correct. We're also running Blood Type Harvester, just a great card. I've been liking this card a lot more the more I play it. It's not like a perfect card, but it's a very good card. The blood token generation, as well as just being spot removal, which is very nice synergy with specifically Diagraph Rebirth, since you're going to have 2 creatures die, both the blood type harvester, as well as essentially the creature going to try to kill the blood type harvester, which does make Diagraph Rebirth really cheap. So something to keep in mind. We're also running a 2 of Meathook Massacre. It's a little bit of a non-bo deck if we do get it off Tibalt's Trickery, but it's still a very good card, just a modular board wipe that can also give us maximum life gain or life loss from the opponent. Very, very nice. Also synergized with Blood Type Harvester, since when Wad dies, our opponent's going to lose life and will gain a life in theory, so that's good. In our free drop slots, we're not running too many free drops due to the nature of Tibalt's Trickery, but we're running 2 Nighthawk Scavenger. Just a very good card in the current meta, especially with a lot of all the Goldspan Dragon shenanigans running about. Just having a flying Death Touch lifelink, very nice. Getting a minimal life gain helps synergize with Lisette, so that's very good. We're also trying Vampire's Vengeance in this, mostly because the blood token generation is nice. A majority of our cards in this deck are vampires, so we should be able to deal with some of the early game aggro decks. Presuming they're not doing the vampire shit, then this does become a little bit of an oomph. But I thought it would be worthy, at least for an experiment, at least. Just because of the blood token generation, as well as just essentially could be inferior one-sided board wipe. Then in the 4-drop slot, we are running 2 Image Stern Predator. Just another way of viewing some graveyard hate, as well as just essentially semi-protecting itself by having this pretty much sacrifice outlet to make it where it can give itself indestructible. Very nice. We're also running Anjay, Maid of Dishonor. Makes perfect sense in a vampire deck. Just a very, very good card. It's kind of our Siege Rhino for the deck. A 4-mana 4/5 that essentially, whenever a vampire or itself enters the battlefield, we generate a blood token. That's nice. As well as it has the activated ability of sacrificing another creature or blood token to make an opponent lose 2 life and us gain 2 life. Which is very nifty yet again with Lisette. So great. Also, just having additional synergies with Meat Hook Massacre, very, very nice. We're also running 2 Soren the Mirthless. You can go 2-1 with this card. Honestly, if you don't have this card, you could cut it out with just more vampires. But I do like this card in the deck. It's just a very, very nice card. Just being able to get the token generation from the vampires, as well as the semi-card draw. As well as if you can get to the ultimate, being able, that can be pretty much a finisher. Plus the alternate art on this one being the Castlevania artist. Anyway, so nevertheless, we get to our 5-drop slots, which gets to our little reanimated base package. But first, let's talk about our board wipe. Burn Down the House. I just like Burn Down the House in Tibalt Trickery style deck designs, mostly because if we need the board wipe side, we can cast the board wipe side. But if the board wipe side is less profitable for us, we can just use the second choice and just make a couple of 1/1s that are hasty, which is very, very nice. And also, when they die, they are going to deal damage to the opponent. Very nice. We also have Diagraph Rebirth in this deck to help us reanimate some mid-range to eating late-game vampires, as well as some other threats. Just a very good card in general. And then our late-game threats. We have 2 Totsful the Crowslift. You can go 3 or 4 with this, mostly just because this is a very, very tempting card to reanimate. Just has some good shenanigans of just essentially doing semi-board wiping your opponent, as well as getting token generation. I would say if you probably want to have a little bit more token, essentially treasure generation, like maybe Prosperous Innkeeper if you're doing these type of deck designs. But we're sticking to the vampire gimmick, so we're going to do it like that. But still, Totsful is still a very good card. And then, of course, our last vampires in the list, we have Zagras, Thief of Heartbeats. It's a 1-of. Making all of our creatures have Death Touch is very nice, since it also can be used as semi-planeswalker removal. Plus, it's also just a 4/4 flying Death Touch haste, which is very good. And then a 1-of Olivia Crimson Bride. This is another reanimation style spell in the deck. We can use it to reanimate any of our early game creatures as well as our vampires. We can even use it to reanimate Anji, and Anji will still stick on the battlefield even if this gets removed. Overall, very good card. Nevertheless, that is Tibalt's Vampire End. As for the land slot, we have 1 Swamp, 1 Forest, 4 Blightstep Pathway, as well as the Searstep Pathway, 3 Haunted Ridge, 4 Dark Boar, Silver Boar Pathway, 2 Deathcap Glade, 4 Tibalt Crown Pathway and Crack Crown Pathway, and 3 Rockfall Vale. That is the list. Let us now try it on ladder and see what shenanigans it shall provide.
Arena. How many blood type harvesters does it take to get a win on Arena?
Let's find out.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, what shenanigans is Olivia gonna bring today? Pretty decent starting hand. We can play this on red, play the Voldaren Epic here. We could even play a little slow and play the Rockfall Vale first to make sure that we have the black mana for both the Nighthawk Scavenger as well as the Soren, which I actually don't mind that play, to be honest. Depends on how our opponent plays their turn out, though. Okay, decide to mulligan. Down to 5 cards. Okay. I think then the initial plan of just playing this down, then... Okay. We're going to play Blood Type Harvester here.
1.
What are they playing? Are they playing like... Yeah, looks like... I'm a little confused here because, Snow-Covered Mountain, regular forest. Though, to be fair, John Avon is a very good artist, so I could understand still wanting to include those. Maybe it's a case that they don't really have a snow-based synergy, and it's more just they like the art on this one, on Adipiquette, and then they like the John Avon one. I will admit, though, it made me go a little, huh? Here, I guess we'll attack in and see how they respond. Because I legit don't know what our opponent's doing here. Okay, let's see what they do next. Okay, so Magda, so they're probably not doing the snow shenanigans. I'm going to guess it's Bard class shenanigans? I could definitely see it potentially being Bard class shenanigans. With that, we'll probably try to remove it with Magda, with Blood Type Harvester. Oh, we're gonna see a Bard class now. Oh, no, it's just basic rule.
They're playing standard Gruul!
Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, first things first, that's going to go bye-bye. And then the thing I do love about this, we can then reanimate Blood Type Harvester to use as removal for later.
A two.
I love this synergy. Love this synergy so much. By the way, if you are playing like Dimir Snow or Sultai Snow Zombies, you can also use the same synergy with the editor. Can you post a cleric? Can you post the zombie cleric 2-drop that pretty much removed a creature essentially with how many snow permanents you had? You can do that same synergy with the Staggraph Rebirth, kind of like this. I like this one a little bit better because you do get access to the blood tokens, but it is something to keep in mind. Ooh, looks like our opponent's doing some dragon shenanigans with their Gruul, which, if I had to make a guess, it's probably Goldspan Dragon, as well as maybe Gnawbone, or the 6-drop legendary dragon that can buff itself. I always forget the name of it. Well, here, I'm gonna try this and see if they have their Snakeskin Veil up. If they use a Snakeskin Veil here, at least we make them waste a treasure, so that's kind of the plan here. They're thinking on it, so that does tell me they have the Snakeskin Veil. Or maybe a shock. They're thinking. Ah, there's the Snakeskin Veil. Okay. As expected. So here... let's do it again.
A three.
Well, let's try this, same as the first. What they're probably going to do here, so they have the second Snakeskin Veil, they're going to probably tap the Jaspera Sentinel to get the green mana that they need. That way they at least get a treasure generation from it. No, they have only red mana, which means... Okay. In this case, I'm going to play Anje. Because we're now at the point where we can essentially sacrifice these blood tokens using Anje's activated ability to just drain our opponent out. There's the Goldspan Dragon. Well, in that case, we're gonna play Blood Type Harvester. Get ourselves another blood token. And... just swing in for 5. You might be wondering why I didn't play the Nighthawk Scavenger here rather than playing this. My logic being, since they have 3 cards in hand, they probably have one of their removal spells, like the Dragon's Fire or something like that. And if anything, I would rather them use their Dragon's Fire to try to remove this potentially, because that could kill their Goldspan Dragon, rather than throw this out, get it automatically removed, and then they just essentially swing in. In other words, this has a little bit of tempo, while this one, essentially. So, we'll see what our opponent does here. Ah, there's the no bone, and, lucky enough, we could get that -12, -12. So, yeah. Play that, generate a blood. And swing in for 5 again. So now they need to find a way to get rid of Anji, or we win next game by just draining them with Anji's activated ability. Do I do that to mid? Okay, they're going to Dragonfire that, which tells me they don't have a big dragon in hand to get rid of Anji, which means we should have this game. Oh. Buddy. Buddy. Bada beep, bada boo hoo. Ah, Splendorana to the Pepperona. Do ya? And got my rank back up. Woo!
A 3.
Okay, let's see. Our opponent this time around is Andrus Dilba. I believe is how you pronounce their name. Anyway, let's take a look at this hand. We're good on the lands. We might be able to sandbag a little bit and then maybe just do a Meat Hook Massacre. We can even just play this as a land potentially, or play this as a red source first. Actually, yeah, I like that. We'll play this as a red source so we can hold up the Spikefield Hazard as removal, presuming if they have any mono white shenanigans, which that was a good call. Okay, buddy. We're gonna spike that. Boop. Here, we don't really have much of a play, so I'd rather just play the tap land here. Yep. Looks like, ooh, our opponent's like doing mono white spirit shenanigans. It seems to be their design. That's really nifty. Anyway, here, we could play Meat Hook Massacre for 1, potentially, but I think the better choice is to play the Nighthawk Scavenger, just to have a blocker and such, so that should get the job done. Plus, with a Meat Hook Massacre, you kind of want them to go a little bit wide first before you do this. Nevertheless, we will initiate the trade here, because I'm curious to see what they play next. Okay, they are very, very spirited, it seems. This is where it would be nifty if we draw any of our discard outlets, but I'm going to pass the turn and going to see if our opponent develops their board presence a little bit, and hope they don't have like a Skyclave apparition, or not Skyclave, a Elite Spellbinder, essentially. Because we really don't got to play here until we can discard Totterel to reanimate it with Diagraph Rebirth. So we'll take the free, see what they play next. Well, that's annoying. But even if they exile the Meat Hook Massacre here, we could still get it for 1 and eliminate the board presence. So, not the end of the world. It's a little annoying, though. And yeah, they go straight for the Meat Hook. As expected. But yeah, I think we're still going to do this for 1. See if our opponent decides to flicker the Fleeting Spirit here. They decide to do that. At least we gain some life from it, and then now they bring it back. So, yet again, now all we need is either 2 lands to get the Totterel on the battlefield, or we just need a discard outlet. We could also, there is a world where we just use the Diagraph Rebirth now to bring back the Nighthawk Scavenger, just so that we have a blocker, which actually I think is a better play here, potentially. Though Zagreus Heartbeats is a nice play. Actually, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Because if they do try to remove it, we can just reanimate that. We're not going to fly in. We're just going to use it as a chump blocker. and see if they have removal. Yep, they have the removal. Oof. Okay, so now really all we're hoping is for a land? I mean, yep, we're gonna have to bring this back just so that we have a blocker. Okay. Yeah, I will block this way. We'll gain a little bit of life. Our opponent will lose 1 life. One, two, three, four, five, six. Not enough to do the play I would want to do, but I think the better play here is to play this. Just so that we have a chump blocker. Our opponent's reading the card. And we will reanimate our Nighthawk Scavenger again so that we have both essentially a bit of defense at the very least. Okay, so our opponent's now going to Elite Spirit Binder the Tots roll. A little annoying, but that's how it is. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to block.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Thanks to the Death Touch provided by Zagreus, it does... Okay, and our opponent did not realize Zagreus provided Death Touch, and, Sweet! Probably they thought along the lines that we're going to probably draw land such and just essentially reanimate this or be able to play the Tots roll eventually. Still, good match. Okay, let's see. We're going against Dawn Prutz. Interesting username. I think that's how you pronounce it. Our starting hand, actually pretty decent. We do have Spikefield Hazard. We could play that as a tap land. We could turn 2 Valky. We could even Meat Hook or Vampire's Vengeance. It's not like the most amazing hand in the world, but it's pretty decent. Oh boy, is it shenanigans. This could be potentially troublesome. For now, though, I think I am going to try to attempt Valky here, but it's probably going to be disrupted. Okay, at least we got the disruption out of their hand. It is kind of going to be interesting to see what Izzet's like without a Divide by Zero in the format, so I am kind of curious about this. But it does seem like they are going into more of the Izzet Dragon variation, at least it appears. Hey, little one. This is going to be a tricky matchup for us, though, because we don't really have fast ramp at the moment. We might just essentially feed a Vampire's Vengeance just to get the blood token generation to get a Tots roll out. That might be the game plan here. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Ooh, that's good. I like this play because we got a few outs here. If our opponent decides to remove the Blood Type Harvester, then we can sacrifice the Blood token here. To just discard the Tottrel. Okay, they're just going to go more Is It Dragony shenanigans. Hang on a minute. Little one, come here. Come here, little one. Come here. Come here, little one. Come here. Little one, come here. Come here. One moment. Iggy, no, come here. Come here. Come here. If you're curious who barks sometimes during my stream, say hello to Iggy. Hey, little one. Yeah, I hear you. Let me first do this play real quick. Okay. And now we can actually do this. Discard Tottrel. And bring back the Tottrel. Don't worry, I'm gonna put you down. Okay? Just say hi to Iggy. Here you go, little one. Go see who's at the front door. Okay, let's see if this play works. Do they have a Fading Hope in their hand? They're thinking here. Really what they're hoping for is probably a deal 3 damage spell and deal 4 damage spell. Or more. So maybe 2 Dragonfires or 1 Dragonfire and 1 Frostbite. Something along that lines. Oh, they're going to go into the board wipe route. Okay. I think I see what they're doing here. We're not going to block. We're not. Because what I think they're going to do here is they're wanting us to block. That way that if we block and such, then they could just cast like a cheap Frostbite and such. So yeah, we can take the 6 points of damage here without much sweat. So, or maybe not. Okay. It'll be interesting. Okay, so they're going to go just straight to the face here. Fair enough. Well, at least we get some tokens. And honestly, we're just going to do 2 for our Meat Hook Massacre. Get rid of the dragon and get some life gain out of the process. And also Slug. And since we have it, we can then Diagraph Rebirth.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really.
Bring back Blood Type Harvester to remove another dragon egg if they play it, so that's good. Okay, Unexpected Windfall. They're trying to draw into one of their bounce spells. They are really trying to draw into one of their bounce spells. They draw into a Frostbite, so can they remove the Tottrel? Okay, they're removing that. And bada beep, bada boop! Some cute synergy and a cute doggo to boot. What's more there not to love? Splendorani to pepperoni. And that, everybody, is Jund Vampires with a little bit of Tibalt Trickery shenanigans. Too bad we didn't saw much of the Tibalt Trickery as much as I would want to shown in the list, but overall, I do like sneaking Tibalt's Trickery sometimes in deck designs, especially deck designs like this, which do have late game payoffs like this. Nevertheless, if I were to improve this list a little bit, I would probably take out the Vampire's Vengeance and either throw in more Meat Hooks or burn down the house. maybe even more late game stuff. Other than that, maybe even some other early game removal spells, like maybe some pretty much spot removal spells that we have in this archetype, maybe some Blood Cheese first, stuff like that, essentially. Overall, though, I do like how this list essentially is cooked, so nevertheless, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, hit that little bell if you want to see more videos. Upcoming next will be essentially a little bit of lore implication videos talking about what was based on a poll of the implications of Tamio being completed. So that's going to be an upcoming video. As well as we'll do one more historic Brewing Labs video before we get started for the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty shenanigans. Nevertheless, I hope you all have a lovely day. As they say, hip hip hooray!